Welcome to this live stream where I thought we could talk about the most common entrepreneur and creator dilemmas. I am currently live on YouTube and TikTok. So I decided to do a bit of research, just a tiny tad bit, to look up the most common dilemmas that we face as creators and entrepreneurs. And then I thought what could be better than seeing how to resolve these dilemmas and these issues. So, welcome to my channel. This is a place to build smart and strong your brand, your business, and to level up your strategic thinking. So, welcome to Serena's Playbook. If you've just subscribed, then amazing. Welcome to the camp. So, let's go with the first dilemma. And that is this is a good one, actually. This is one that I actually struggle with. I say struggle with, I kind of I've come to, I'm really used to this struggle now. It feels like it's just a reality. I have too many ideas and I don't know where to focus. This is a common one if you're quite creative, as a creator, as an entrepreneur, where you are curious and you're happy to explore, then let me know on YouTube and TikTok if this is the case for you. So let's talk about what could resolve this when you have too many ideas and you don't know where to focus. Well, I would say this is a clarity issue rather than a capability issue. So we're going to apply my strategic zone of self-awareness, having strategic self-awareness. And I think that you can hopefully guide yourself through a bit of a mapping process where you can identify what your values are and remind yourself to align with your values again. Because I think what we find is that lots of ideas can come in. It's like when there's a sale and you're shopping loads and everything looks great, but not everything fits. So that's sometimes how ideas work as well. We get so many of them, but not all of them fit. And that's when you've got to check in with yourself again. So what's your value alignment? So is it going to fit you? So you've kind of got to kind of do a quick priority map and just check in with, hang on a second, am I still on course? Am I still focused on the long term? Am I having my priorities and my priority map in mind when I have this idea? Does it slot in properly? And you've got to check in with yourself. And so this is really useful, I think, for us to kind of take a step back and ask us these questions. I actually have a strategic self-awareness questionnaire that you can access for free on my site. So let's move on to another one. Let me know if that resonated with you. Because I often find that there's a kind of a idea that having a lot of ideas feels like you're in the zone, but actually from time to time it can be quite overwhelming and it could feel like clutter. And so that's probably why it's a good idea to just check with yourself. Remember, it's almost like you're walking down that sales aisle. You've got to ensure that it actually fits. So let's go on to the next dilemma, the common dilemma that creators and entrepreneurs face. So we had too many ideas, I know where to focus. What about I'm told to niche, but I have multiple passions? So, my strategic zone about stakeholders and interdependencies is where this is going to resolve itself immediately, because that kind of binary way of thinking that must only sort of look at one thing because I have multiple passions and it's not a smart strategy to be looking at multiple things, is now, in my opinion, for an era that no longer applies. It's not going to help us in this new technological and AI era. Why am I saying this? I am of the opinion, and this is from my experience and from what I'm observing and from my research, is that we absolutely must, we absolutely must be the types of creators and entrepreneurs who are multi-skilled, adaptable, and ones who are agile, can spot opportunities, ones who aren't stuck in linear thinking, and ones who can collaborate with new technological developments such as AI. We have to be in a fit state. It's almost like having multiple passions and interests and skills and doing it the right way. So, not getting overwhelmed with it, but most definitely being disciplined with it is like training for one of those multi sport races where you're swimming a bit, cycling a bit, running a bit, but you're having to train in all of them because you're going to run all of them at some point. And it's having that kind of agility, that kind of athleticism in your skills, in your perspective, and in what you can offer that is really going to set you apart. I think, in my opinion, so far from my experience and what I'm observing and from my research. So, this idea of a binary niche or multiple passions needs to come together in a much more focused way, but one that will actually reap some rewards. There should be some ROI on it. So I use a concept of ecosystem thinking, and this is where you have multiple offerings and perhaps platforms that intersect with one another and your audiences potentially overlap. That's a good thing, I think. I think it's a good thing because, again, I'll use myself as an example, and I'll think of any clients, past and present, who might have. I'm just going to see if I can turn this light off. It's a little bit harsh. I think I prefer without the light. Um, Give your audience and your community more than one thing for them to connect with you on, I think. More than one thing. I'm trying to turn this light down, my friends. Okay, I'm just going to have to completely. I've lost faith with it. I changed my setup briefly, and now I'm messing around with lights. Let's rewind. As I was saying, give your community, give those who are tuning into you options, I think. So I'll use myself as an example, and then I will think of client past or present. I myself, and this is going to be a blend of the previous point about having multiple ways to connect with people. I myself have found that not cutting off myself and not cutting off ideas has actually been a real strategic edge. And the reason why it's an edge is because I'm able to adapt to different, and I'm learning to get better at this. And in some respects I'm not there yet, but not fully. But what is there yet? I'm able to write on Substack, create shorts for short form, create long form for long form. One thing I haven't cracked yet is Instagram, because ever since the good old days of Instagram, my accounts have been pretty stagnant, and I've been focusing on YouTube and TikTok a little bit as an addition, as a new medium, and then my writing. So being able to hop quite strategically and in an intentional way from platform to medium has been an asset. So having multiple skills and passions has helped me. So it's created an ecosystem for me. It makes sense for me. And I think this allows interconnections to be made. And also it allows audiences more options. And then if you're looking at it in terms of ensuring you reach your audience, well, what's better than being on multiple platforms so they can see your breadth and depth of work and what you have to offer? Of course, there's always going to be a risk of spreading yourself thin and doing too much. And I know that feeling as well. But, but, and if you are watching YouTube or TikTok on this live, please do like it or help me. Um, you've got to sort of identify a strategic through line and not narrow yourself too much because you're worried or scared that you're going to spread yourself too thin, that you aren't going to be focused enough. Thank you for the likes. So you've got to figure this out yourself. What is a strategic through line? What does it look like? Because a strategic through line for you is going to look very different for anyone else. You're going to determine what your ecosystem looks like, what the more than one thing you're going to blend. So, what's a strategic through line for you without narrowing yourself? So, it should be an intentional one where you're allowed to expand yourself, but you're not getting messy or too cut off, shut off. That's the idea. So, that's my longer answer to I'm told to niche, but I have multiple passions. And then also, as systems thinkers, as bricoleurs, as reflective thinkers, we have to check in with this. We have to come back to this. We can't just sort of stop there and say, okay, well, now we know. And now we go with this. It's in the same way, it's me trying to figure out whether or not I post short videos to the YouTube channel because the risk is apparently, allegedly, it can make your long form content suffer. So you've got to be open to trial and error and figure it out along the way. And it might be that it works for you or works for one channel because that's the kind of content that you're publishing, and then it doesn't for another. Let me give you an example. I was recently listening to a podcast conversation between a creator strategist and a very sort of successful yoga teacher on YouTube called Charlie, and her account is called Charlie Follows. And she did blend the YouTube shorts with the long form, and it seems as if her channel hasn't suffered. I mean, she's recently grown to 1 million subs, and the views and the watch time is there. So it's not just about subs, it's not just about views, it's the watch time, the community, the time that they're spending with her. But she's been able to blend them. But you see, the reason why that works for her is because the short form, whilst it is informative and it gives her audience tips, tricks, and insight, her audience are also the type to want the tips, the tricks, and the insight in long form. They want the long form as well. And that's why then they will quite happily go to the related video, the longer form video. And so my Garmin's going off. And so the really important thing for us to note here is that there's certain uncertainties, unknowns in this situation. That doesn't mean that we just stop, we give up, and we resign ourselves to, oh, well, then we shouldn't do it, we shouldn't try it. So I have a shorts channel, and on occasion I upload a short. That's an accommodation I've made. That's a very systems thinking approach to this. I'm very proud of myself. I'm a good student. It's working. Oh, it's paying off. The dots are joining, the webs are webbing, the bridges are bridging. So you've got to make accommodations, and then you've got to iterate on them. We look for certainty so much, and this has got to work, and it's got to work like this all the time. And then when we don't have that certainty, what happens? We think we failed. No, we haven't. And this kind of adaptability and openness, I had to end the TikTok live, sorry, it was so distracting. And I'm here. This kind of sort of adaptability and comfortability with uncertainty and being quite happy to change if need be is going to help us in this new AI world. And I know lots of creators, entrepreneurs, thinkers are talking about this so much, and there are so many opinions, but I'm here to go through that with you, because for the next year or so, as I sort of near the end of my master's in science in systems thinking, and I'm doing my research project slash thesis, which is going to be within this realm of AI creator entrepreneur world, I'm going to share every single little bit of insight and research I have. And we can do it together. We can chart this together. But it's really important that we continue to allow ourselves to execute on a systems design. So the design was what we were just talking about. I know this is jargon, but it's exactly what we were just talking about. So it's not anything new. I'm going to try putting my light on again. It's not anything new. That's better. So we can iterate, we can figure this out. And what we can do, most importantly, is figure out the best mix and remix for us, what works for us. So again, the dilemma was, I'm told, Tanisha, I have multiple passions. You can figure it out. Just figure out your strategic through line and don't narrow yourself, and then iterate. Here's another one. I'm stuck between content creation and running the actual business. This is, again, another one which we all face. It's about decision making, it's about operational balance, and it's this kind of tension between executing and then also being visible. And again, I think what's really going to help is that you do those things that I said earlier, which is, firstly, does that content, this idea of like needing to be visible and create content, and this kind of dilemma. I'm really on the fence about this light business. I'm so sorry. And I'll have my proper camera up next time. But does this content line up with your alignment, with your values, your value alignment? So we talked about that earlier. Because remember, I know we keep talking about ROI, but we are establishing a webs upon webs, an ecosystem, a community, and the immediate sort of payoff isn't necessarily, oh, the click wasn't there, so what's the point? Are you in this to build a community? So this is where my opinion kind of leaks in as well. Are you in this to build a community? Does it always have to be content creation equals immediate profitability? Because I don't think we can really approach, you've got to sometimes question the question. We- The ROI of content creation will be different to the actual business output. But they are interlinked, they're interconnected, and they depend and rely on each other. So I'm going to say it shouldn't be an either or. It's about making it work. My phone is in my pocket. It's about making it work for you. So you've got to sort of create a systems design if possible, and allowing it to work for you. What I do is I will use reflective prompts all the time to clarify for myself what has to be done, what has to be done now, what works right now, what is my creative ideation wanting to do and express itself, and allow that to guide me a little bit in the short term, because yes, we think about long term and the overarching business goal, but there are so many, like I said again, if you don't look at things in a binary way or in a sort of very fixed way, and you look at things in an ever changing and evolving way, you know that perhaps today or this week there may be a trend or some kind of technological change that now asks you, propels you, prompts you to create or offer something up in a different way. Thank you for watching the live. So that's where you have to be happy to be flexible. And like I said, this flexibility, this agility is really going to stand us in good stead for what's coming, how things are changing every day. This next one, I'm burnt out. I don't know if this is sustainable. I'm burnt out and I don't know if this is sustainable. I'm just taking my other phone mic out. I use this. I'm burnt out and I don't know if this is sustainable. How often are we all here? I'm there right now. And I'm writing about this at the moment. I'm building from burnout, because burnout, like any situation, can provide you with opportunities. We've just got to take a pause. And so I'm going to come back to one of my boxing ring metaphors, which I spoke about in a video when I was talking about the Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight. I was talking about how at the end of each round, they go back into the corner in the boxing ring to pause, to reflect, to have a moment. Rounds and the duration of each round is set in advance, right? The unpredictable bit is the fighting and how your opponent is going to behave and how you're going to be able to respond. Correct. However, so sorry, someone's outside the studio, so I just need to make sure everything's okay. Could be a delivery. So the thing that you don't know, there are some uncertainties, but what you do know that you're going to definitely do, no matter what, is you're going to come to your corner, because you're going to have scheduled reflective cycles. No matter what, you're always going to come back to your corner for the break. You're going to schedule these reflection cycles in no matter what. And these breaks are not a luxury, they are an absolute necessity for your playbook, for how you are going to approach your brand and your business. Integrating your emotional and energetic sustainability is part of strategic planning. So, by scheduling in these reflective cycles regularly, you're like that boxer in the ring. You need to go to your corner. You need to consult with your team. You need them to pat you down, give you some water, check your guard before you go back in there again. So that's why it's really important. It might be, and this is going to be a controversial take, okay? Let me know if you resonate with this. It might be that you're always burnt out. I'm not giving you clinical advice. What I mean by this is, if you're, let's just say you're highly functioning as I am, or you are always on the go, or you are a workaholic, or you're all of these things, let's just say you love what you do. And in order to balance, you have to regulate yourself and give your sort of like, you give yourself scheduled breaks. Perhaps you're always like that boxer in the ring, and it's not often that you will actually sit down. Then maybe that's, you've got to accept, like, if when I do stakeholder and interdependency awareness as part of one of the strategic zones, look at yourself in there as well. Like, how do you behave? What are you like? Because you're not fixed. You're also, your behaviors and how you are must be brought into the strategic planning. This is what I am like. This is how I work. What works for me? I could happily stream all day, every day, but I know I will just be fried. And then I've got to get on with my other responsibilities and duties. And I would still try and make it work and still do it. For instance, it's in me to create content every day for multiple channels, and I'll happily do it. But then I know that I have to schedule regulation time. And luckily, because I'm a holistic practitioner, I've been a yoga teacher for so long and I practice every day. And my health isn't perfect, but I figure out ways to, no, let's not, my health is perfect. Let's just say that. But I'm figuring out ways to take care of myself by regulating, by having sort of scheduled breaks. This is the burnout awareness that you've got to have. You've got to have awareness of, well, how do I work? And how do I like to work? And is it that I don't want to change the demands on me? I don't want to change the extent, of my work flow and my output. Therefore, I just need to put in some regulation. So question the question. Let's do one more. Let's see. Either my audience isn't growing fast enough, or I feel like I'm always reacting, not leading, or actually I'm doing too much for too little return. Let's look at, I feel like I'm always reacting, not leading. I'll blend them. So again, it comes to your awareness. If you feel like you're not leading, then it might be that you are reacting because you haven't done planning, you haven't zoomed out enough, you haven't given yourself reflective breaks and prompts. You need my masterclass. You are perhaps, and this is, I talked about this in a video, check it out, about complex versus complicated. It might be that you are approaching a complex problem in a complicated way. So complicated thinking is quite fixed, where you're just looking at the bits and they're fixed bits, but those fixed bits won't work for a complex situation, because in the complex situation, the bits can change. There's variability. There's not in the complicated, because complicated might have lots of bits, but the bits are all fixed. They're predictable. Your complex situation isn't. So sometimes when you're reacting and then you're losing because you're kind of doing it by rote, like you're reacting in a typical way. You're being formulaic. You're not thinking like a strategic thinker. You're not zooming out. You're not reflecting in order to take in the complexity of the situation. And so that's why sometimes it feels like you're always reacting. Leading feels like, Leading is like you can see the horizon, you can see many things, you're observing it all play out. That's what leading feels like. And that's why we zoom out, because we're like, yeah, these are all the kind of regular fixed bits. What else is going on in this situation? What are the metrics saying there in the back end of my sales, and what's going over, what's going on over here with the footfall at my shop? And then people also attend that class down the road that happens to be a class where people wear the kind of product that I sell. There's when you start to take a step back, you begin to spot links, and then the web. I'm all about the web and the web and the bridge, the web and the bridge. So again, fixed answers don't always give us the solution. We've got to, my chair keeps sliding back. We've got to zoom out, take a step back, and then we'll stop reacting, because then we're more aware of the entirety of the situation, and also we're aware of what's unknown, and then we're kind of keeping an eye out for the unknown, where that's part of our risk readiness, the kind of anticipation you have because of the awareness you have of what your risks are. And that's another one of my strategic zones. I realize this is the longest piece of content on the channel, and this is a longer stream. This is a long stream, and it was on purpose because I wanted to provide you with a bit more. Like, it's been going on for 30 minutes now. I wanted to provide you with a bit more problem solving on the spot, a stream, and introduce you to another side of my offering, because we've obviously got the tutorials and the videos that I put out weekly, and then the shorts as well. And then you can obviously find tools on my website. But I thought, let's just do like a live problem solving situation. And hopefully, as the channel grows, as it's growing, then with you attending these lives, or masterclasses, if you choose to go that route, I can take your live questions, and we can absolutely problem solve. And asking these questions or providing your thoughts can help someone else. So please feel free, if you haven't commented or engaged during the actual live and you're watching the recording, still please feel free to share. And through our conversation and through hopefully the community that we're building here, and I'm really optimistic about, we can learn from one another, and we can have a comment section that's all about being reflective. It could be reflexivity in action. It's been wonderful to have you, your time and attention. It's the most valuable thing that you have. Next time will use my regular camera. I won't use my camera on my Mac. But hopefully you've gotten 1, 2, or more insights from this live stream. And I will be back with my setup. This was like just a very quick one, in order to kickstart these live streams on this channel, as I'm used to doing live streams on my media literacy channel. So I thought, let's bring this kind of content here to Serena's Playbook, where we can look at like the kind of issues that we're all facing as creators and entrepreneurs. So that's it. I welcome you to engage with me in all the ways possible. It's all in the description, and I will see you in the very next video or short live stream or my masterclass launching right now. Thank you.